OMGesus, boys, girls, in-betweeners, welcome! We're doing something a little bit different on the channel today. We're doing a review of Sunset Overdrive for the Xbox One. Now, what is Sunset Overdrive, you might ask yourself, if you have been living in the hole or if you're a PS4 fanboy. Not that I have anything against you guys. It's a game which, if you want to get a descriptor for it, is probably something we'd say you combine SSX and Saints Row, which is not a bad thing because those are two franchises that I personally really enjoy. So it's an open world shooter. It's a game which definitely does not take itself too seriously either, as you'll see throughout this review. And that's a good thing, in my opinion. I think there are too many games out at the moment which are just taking themselves way too seriously. And it's fun just to sit down and just play a game which just wants you to have fun. It just wants you to mess around, it wants you to look cool, it wants you to feel cool, and just do awesome shit. And that's really what this game is all about. So it has a lot of humor and charm going for it. Now, in terms of what you can do, it does have a lot of customization. It's not like Grand Theft Auto 5 where you play any kind of preset character with some kind of huge history behind them. The character is whoever you create them to be. They're really just nobody. They have no history. They just are someone who was working in Sunset City when this whole outbreak of nastiness and mutants started. From there they go on to become the hero of Sunset City. And you can see here that my hero is a little Japanese woman. But if you want to make something else, you can make a huge hulking man or just some regular looking cool dude or woman. So the character models are preset. You can't play with them quite as much as you can in other games. You can't make your character really short and really fat. They have preset body types, which is a choice that I can kind of appreciate why the developers went with that, because as we'll get into a little bit later, the clothing system in this game is very comprehensive. It allows for layering, has a lot of different options, and I can appreciate that if they weren't working with preset body types, it would be a lot harder to implement them, which is actually the reason they took that option out of Saints Row 3 from Saints Row 2, because they switched to a new engine. But that aside, that's a big plus for me, because I like being able to insert myself into a game. I like being able to create my own character, someone who I feel like is just, you know, a fun person to play as. And that's something which draws me into those kind of games, like Mass Effect or like any other kind of game, which just gives you that opportunity to just be your own person. In terms of gameplay, this is a game that really requires you to constantly move. I can't really emphasize that enough. It's a game where if you're expecting like your usual chest-high wall kind of cover-based shooter, you're going to die a lot. Because I actually think that when you actually stop moving, the enemies actually become a lot more accurate. When you're actually moving around a lot, when you're grinding on poles or cables, if you're jumping from cars or wall running, it's a lot easier to not get hit. So it really does reward you for that, and not just in the fact that you don't get hit, it also builds up style. You can see in the corner of the screen there's a lightning bolt which represents the current level of style, and the higher the lightning bolt goes, the more it becomes filled, the more items you get, like lightning bolts from the sky, as you can see here, or tornadoes, or big ground pound smash attacks, things like that. It's all part of the game's style system which ties into its upgrade system. So there's definitely rewards for being original with your combat and trying to mix things up, which is also quite refreshing, so you don't just have to shimmy back and forth and just, you know, hold the trigger down until everything is dead. Outside of that, the weapons also upgrade along with you. They start out as just the basic weapons, but they will get stronger as the game goes and allow you to equip different amps to them. The whole amp system is something which is there to add more originality and variance to the game. You can equip different amps and have different abilities attached to them, things that will give you more damage or will reward you with more style. It's not something which is actually critical to the game, largely because you don't actually get the ability to add amps to your weapons until they've leveled up past level 1, and honestly I actually made it through the entire game without equipping amps to all of my weapons, so they're definitely not useless, but they're not as critical as the game might make them out to be. It also has a very loose system of aiming. You don't have to actually really be aiming at your target to be able to hit them, which might sound like a bad thing on paper, but when you're grinding around on rails or wall running or things like that, it's actually quite difficult to aim. So that's actually quite a nice forgiving feature of the game, because if it was any tighter, you'd find yourself just getting frustrated that you're missing an awful lot. In terms of multiplayer, this game does actually have a multiplayer function, where you can actually go outside of the game and just team up with random groups of people to take on objectives. This multiplayer system is fun. It does allow you to just jump straight in and earn rewards and things like that for your character, but it feels a little bit tacked on. It's a little bit superfluous because it doesn't really offer you anything that you can't get inside the game already. It just gives you cash and juice for your amps. And the actual activities themselves don't last particularly long. Some of them felt quite short, and I bounced around between several of them before I just decided that I'm really not doing anything in this multiplayer mode that I'm not doing inside of the game. It is fun. I definitely wouldn't take that away from them. It's also nice to be able to see what other people are doing with their characters and how they've chosen to express themselves in the game. So if that's the kind of thing that appeals to you, it's definitely worth checking out. In terms of how this game feels, I would say that overall it's a very fast, enjoyable shooter. It's very frenetic, it's very kinetic, it's very fast paced. As I said, you need to constantly be on the move. You need to be trying to build your style as much as possible, which is rewarded for your efforts. So it's not a bad thing at all, and I think that it definitely does help to set it apart from the usual crop of shooters that are coming out around this time of the year. There's a lot of great customization options, and it's got a really long campaign too. I mean, if you were to just blow through this game just skipping all the side quests, you could probably finish it around 10 to 12 hours, but if you're like me, and you are a completionist and you like to do all those activities and get all the rewards and cool swag and things like that, you'll probably find it takes about 15 to 20 hours to finish. If I had to nitpick with this game, I would say that the music does get a little bit grating at times. It does tend to just blend into being white noise by the end of the day, and if you listen to it long enough, it does actually get on your nerves a little bit. It's your kind of generic punk rock, pop music kind of thing, which isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but there were very few times while playing this game that I kind of felt like, yeah, you know, this music sounds really cool, I'm really caught up in the moment. It just kind of is there in the background. So that's probably the only real nitpick that I have of this game. I would say that if you are a person who owns an Xbox One and it's the kind of thing that you dig, I would definitely recommend checking it out. I mean, personally, you know, I was a little bit disappointed with Dead Rising 3 when that came out. I felt like that game just didn't really deliver on the promise that it was making, and this game is something that definitely makes up for it. In addition, I'd say the graphics are actually quite good for the Xbox One with its current generation that we're actually seeing. It's not up to Alien Isolation's level in terms of character detail and lighting effects and things like that, but it definitely doesn't have any frame rate issues. You can have a lot of crap going on the screen, a lot of character models, a lot of explosions, things like that, and this game never dropped below around 30 frames per second, which is a big point in its favor as well. So, if you're looking for an overall score in this game, I'm not actually going to give it a number, so it's a little bit arbitrary, but I would definitely say it's great. I really enjoyed this game. So far, it's probably the best game that I've played this year in terms of new games, and I'm not really a fan of things like Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed or things like that. So, if you're like me and if you just want something original and something fun, which is just going to allow you to sit back at the end of the day and just do cool shit and look awesome while doing it, I would say definitely check it out. And that's it for me. So, if you guys enjoyed this review, please leave a comment or a thumbs up. And until next time, I will see you guys in beautiful Sunset City.